so up until this point, we've learned several ways to graph linear equations, and we've also learned about the slope-intercept form. So remember that the slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. M is the slope, right? I know that doesn't look like slope. Just give me a second. M is the slope, and that's equal to my rise over run, my up and over, rise over run. And then B is equal to my y intercept. Oh, that's convenient. And so we're going to look at what happens to graph these things together. So it says you can use the slope and y-intercept, and you could graph and find the points that satisfy the equation and connect them with a line. In other words, I'm going to graph this first line by hand. I start with the y-intercept always, which is -2. That means I'm going to intersect right here on the y-axis. That's what y-intercept means, at -2. Then from there, my slope is 3, which is the same as 3 over 1. 3 is my change in y. You should be writing this down instead of poking him in the back of the neck. Thank you. And that means I'm going to go up 3, and then the 1 is the change in x, which means I'm going to go over 1. So from this point, I go up 1, 2, 3, and go over 1. Now, if I take and draw a line between those 2 points, and I had to like copy and paste a line because the first go around was not the greatest. I'm going to have to duplicate my line. All right, we'll come back to that. So for this one, I'm going to rotate this through to kind of connect through those lines like this. So you guys do the best you can in your textbook. Do you guys want a ruler?
No.
Or are you okay just sketching it out? Well, I want you to write it in your book so you have something to look at.
Like for the line.
For the line? Oh, you guys are using the straight edge? Okay, that's good. So that's that first equation, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to graph the second equation. So we basically repeat the process. I thought you guys were graphing it on your calculator, and I was like, no, I want you to do it on the thing. So my y-intercept is 3, so I'm going to, right here at +3, put a point. Now my slope is -2. So my slope on this thing is -2, which is the same as -2 over 1. That means I'm going to go down 2 spaces and then over 1. So from here, I'm going to go down 1, 2, and I'm going to connect the dots here. Okay? And I got to select this. And where does it look like they intersect at? Yeah, it looks like they intersect at 1, 1. So let's check this out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I think they intersect. Sorry about that. It's 1, 1. So it says explain how to tell whether 2, -1 is a solution of the equation y without graphing. Well, you could try to plug in. So write down the word plug in. So remember, 2 is an x, and I think before we started recording this video, a student said, does that mean one's the x and one's the y? And the answer is yes. But what we do is we plug it in. So if I take this first equation and I say y equals -1, I'm taking this equation where there's a y equals 3 times x, but we're going to plug in 2, minus 2. Well, -1 Does that equal, what's 3 times 2? 6. What's 6 minus 2? 4. Does negative 1 equal 4? No. So you would say not a solution. Okay? Does that make sense? Raise your hand if it doesn't. I didn't hear it, so I don't think the microphone picked it up. But I will check. All right, here we go. You can avoid that by not talking. So let's move on. It says, explain how to tell whether 2 comma negative 1 is a solution for this graph. Y equals negative 2 comma negative 2x plus 3. Again, this is an x value. This is a y value. I'm going to take this equation. Wherever there's a y, I'm going to put a negative 1. Is equal to negative 2 times x, but we said that x is 2. Plus 3. Now, this is negative 1 is equal to, what's negative 2 times 2? Negative 4. Very good. What's negative 4 plus 3? So negative 1 does equal, negative 1 does equal negative 1. So 2 comma negative 1 is a solution. Okay? So that is a solution. It says use the graph to explain if it is if 2 comma negative 1 is a solution for each equation. How do I word this? The lines do not intersect at 2 comma negative 1. Does that make sense? So determine if the point of intersection is a solution to both equations. So where did we say that looked like it crossed? 1 comma 1, right? So let's see if we're right or not. So you put 1 comma 1. Remember that 1 is going to be an x value, and that 1 is going to be a y value. I don't know why I separated them, but I want you to understand. So wherever there's a y, I'm going to put a 1. Wherever there's an x, I'm going to put a 1. Okay? I always laugh at textbooks. You should make them different. So that way you guys keep track of what's an x and what's a y. But anyway, let's do the math on that. When we're doing x, we're multiplying. I like to put that in parentheses. And so over here, I've got 1. But over here on this side, what's 3 times 1? 3. What's 3 minus 2? 1. All right, let's do this side. What's negative 2 times 1? Negative 2. What's 3 minus 2? 1. Is that a point of intersection for both equations? Yes. That works. Now, just for practice and for fun, let's fire up those handy-dandy calculators. And so what I want to do is I'm going to graph both of these equations. So let me slide back up here. Actually, I'm going to make my calculator full screen. You guys could look in your textbook so you can see what I'm doing. Let me move my face over here. So the first equation, correct me, make sure I do this correctly. It's 3 times x. Hey, I'm shouting to compete with the volume of this class. I shouldn't have to. 3 times x minus 2. And then the second equation, what was it? Negative 2x plus 3. Is that right? Make sure you use a negative sign in front of the 2. And let's graph it. Notice that in our original thing we have, it looks like it goes from positive 6 to negative 6 in the y direction. and -6 to +6 in the x direction. How do I set that up on my calculator? Anybody remember? Yes.
You set the max and minimum length to 6 by 6.
Yeah. So if I click on Windows, ready? Watch this, you guys. Set it on Window. My minimum is -6. My maximum is +6 for X and for Y. Okay. I'll leave that up there for a second. I was watching my video earlier today, and I was like, man, I go really fast. Do I go too fast for you guys?
Yeah.
Well, then speed up.
And I'm so tired.
You're tired? I'm sorry you're tired. I'm Mr. Adams. Nice to meet you, Tired.
Don't say my name.
What's going to happen if you guys try to say names to be funny to stop me from recording the video? I just won't record the videos, and we'll just look at the notes. So it's up to you. Or I'll just keep repeating myself, and we'll start the video over and over and over and over.
Are you deleting this from the video?
What? No, I'm leaving it in there. I want your parents to see how you behave in class.
Good.
Whoa.
Hi, YouTube.
You think our parents watch your videos and stuff?
Yeah, they probably, yeah.
No.
On a Friday, listen, date night, there's two choices, Netflix or Adam's Math Tube. I think we all know what the obvious choice is. I think, oh yeah? Well, 900,000 views says differently. So,
The only time that my mom actually watched your videos was when I had seen one of your videos.
anyways, be quiet, let's finish this problem. So this is the graph. How can I verify that that is true? Let's go to trace. Well, actually, go to second. Actually, let's do this. Go to second, trace. That's the calculate menu. What do you think I'm going to choose? Intersect. So I'm going to scroll down to where it says intersect in the calculate menu. I'm going to hit enter. Now it says first curve. What they're telling me to do is get that blue line, get that cross as close as I can to the intersection. Then it says second curve. Notice that everything is in red. They're saying get it as close as you can to the intersection. And then guess means I'm not on either line. I got to get wherever I think it is. I hit enter. Guess what? That's the intersection. 1, 1. So when x equals 1, y equals 1. So let me take a screenshot of this. And this is a great way to kind of make sure. Somehow I screwed up. I need to do that again. Let me move my face over here. All right. So now let's minimize this, and somewhere over here, I'm going to put that right there. Okay, does that make sense, guys? Do you guys have any questions? Okay, cool. I'll leave that up on the screen so you guys can finish